you're really notable for coining the term passion economy and writing a lot about that. Like, what is that? I guess for people who maybe aren't familiar about your writing or the topic of passion economy.
Yeah. So firstly, backing up to the introduction, I I mean, I'm honored to be the first investor, but I also do think of myself as a creator. So hopefully I won't break that trend too much. But yeah, I write, I paint, I have a podcast, I have a YouTube, which is a very modest sized YouTube channel. But regardless, I think of myself as a creator and I love creating content and always have. Yeah, talking about the passion economy. So that really stemmed from a number of things. One of which was evaluating marketplace businesses and covering marketplace startups when I was at Andreessen Horowitz for the past 4 years. So I was working on the consumer investment team there. We were doing multi stage investing. And primarily on the consumer team, we were looking at marketplaces because we loved businesses that had network effects of some sort. So anything that would get better and deliver a better experience as more users join the platform. That was the ultimate source of defensibility that we really like to see in a business. And so as a result of that, we loved platforms that would bring together supply of some sort with demand of some sort because they just tended to have really winner take all, very powerful network effects. And so, for instance, I worked on our investment in Hip Camp, which is like Airbnb, but for camping, Lunch Club, which is like this professional network that helps matchmake people for networking purposes. I worked on our investment in Rappi, which is like Instacart, but for Latin America, a bunch of other marketplace businesses. And what I always really loved about marketplaces, beyond the fact that they just make great investments if they're successful, is the fact that they represent this really democratizing force for accessing work and accessing consumers and dollars. Like it didn't matter where you were from or what background you had, as long as you provided something that was really interesting and compelling and differentiated, you could find business on a marketplace and earn income as a supplier. And I thought that that was really powerful. And it was with that background in mind that I sort of formulated the idea of the passion economy, where I saw that transition of marketplaces from gig economy style marketplaces where all of the suppliers were really commoditized and had to do a set sort of steps of instructions that the platform dictated to them in order to make $10 or $20. I started seeing a shift in this marketplace paradigm where suppliers could really determine for themselves and use their creativity and imagination to determine exactly what they wanted to offer to the market. So, if they wanted to offer a very particular type of newsletter that address certain topics, they could offer that for sale and cultivate a loyal user base who would purchase that and give them money directly for that. Or they could create a certain YouTube show and make money off of that. Really, the key was building loyalty with an audience, creating a really differentiated service or product, and growing your audience in order to scale yourself as a supplier. Um, and I felt like this mapped better to just how humans want to work in general and how I want the future direction of work to be headed in the world. Like, I think that humans are they're born with this like creative seed and a desire for creative self-expression, and we feel much more fulfilled when we can utilize our creativity and our imagination in our work rather than just accepting directions from like a boss or a platform. And so this new style of marketplaces, which I came to call passion economy marketplaces and passion economy platforms, were much more aligned with that type of work than the old style gig work platforms. And so, yeah, I consider the passion economy as like a broader umbrella, and the creator economy is a slice of that. It's a new type of work that is arising and is predicated on building up an audience, creating really unique, compelling content. But there's all sorts of other industries that are being affected by the passion economy model, where people are going into business for themselves, developing an audience online, and providing maybe a product, a physical product, or an intangible service to a select set of customers and earning an income directly from them.
Yeah, so Blake touched on this right away when he said that a creator at Creator Economy, like we're focusing in creator economics, we're focusing on the macro. So we're focusing on people like Mr. Beast and Eric and guys pulling millions of views already.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm excited in this episode to kind of dig a little bit deeper into the micro of all of this. So what are some platforms that stick out to you, or maybe they're platforms that you've actually used or are currently using that some people might not know about?
Yeah. Well, yes, I totally agree with that contrast. I think what gets me really excited as an investor and as a person in the society is the promise of like hundreds of thousands or millions or tens of millions of people being able to participate in this economy of utilizing their individuality to make money, rather than just a very small select group of people who are mega famous being able to profit off of it. So I'm really interested in how do we enable the long tail, help people achieve like a middle class income and achieve financial security for themselves, not necessarily having to blow up as a celebrity and earn millions of dollars a year, but how can this be an accessible source of income to many, many people? In terms of actual platforms that's helping to make that happen, um, there's so many that are very, very little known. I think there's a really interesting like set of bootstrapped companies that no one really talks about yet have just created huge businesses off of sort of enabling small creators online and enabling micro entrepreneurship. So, an example of this is ConvertKit, which helps people create like web funnels and email marketing funnels in order to sell something to an audience. They got their start doing sort of like email lists and email newsletters that you would build over time in order to build like an ebooks business, for instance. There's another bootstrapped business called Kajabi, which I wrote about in my newsletter, which is now at I think $1 billion run rate. So the creators on the platform are earning like $1 billion a year on the platform, selling online courses and coaching. And this business, like no one in Silicon Valley has ever really heard of it because they've never raised money. But there's like I think tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of creators who are making a living full time on Kajabi. I'm also really interested in like the transformation of local services businesses and how to empower more people to start businesses that serve local customers. So, for instance, one of my investments is a platform called Dumpling, which is a grocery delivery platform that helps shoppers start their own grocery delivery business. So rather than work for Instacart, where the platform is really intermediating that relationship between you and the end customer, on Dumpling, providers have their own storefront. They own their relationships with the customers. They work with the same customers and families over and over again who really develop a loyalty to them. And they get to keep more of the earnings. And really, they're building their own business. They get upside in the business. They have full ownership over their customers, and it's just a very different treatment of the workers than in traditional gig marketplaces.